Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the English broadcast of the LPL. We are in week 6, day 5 of the spring split, and we are coming back for our second game between LGD and Team WE. Now, I'm going to move this conversation over to talking about mid lane and jungle, because that's definitely where it was for last game, but it's also the fact we're on 8.4 now, and the jungle and mid duo, very important on this patch.
Definitely, a lot of people are mentioning this, and the reason is because the removal of Tracker's knife. You don't get that vision very easily inside the enemy jungle, and basically what teams are trying to do is, if they're going to start their aggression in the lanes, they have to find out where the enemy jungler is, and the only way you really do that is send your own jungler in. And if you think about like how the map is set up, it's much easier to send mid and jungle into the enemy jungle than any other lane itself. So duos become much more important, and a lot of fights are going to happen around the jungler themselves. So that's the big point that we have to hit on. Good junglers that we think are going to get a buff because of this: Karsa, Pepper, Flawless, but other junglers that relied on the vision game a lot more, guys like SKS and maybe a Ning, are probably going to see like their stats being hit a little bit.
Exactly, and we also have a bunch of junglers specifically in the LPL who like to go towards the Lee Sin. So now Lee Sin's mostly dead, well, pretty much dead.
He's paid to win now. You have to spend 75 gold for a ward hop.
Yeah, which feels pretty bad, and that affects a lot of the junglers in the LPL. You look towards Flawless, even Cleared as well into the jungle, but as you said, there are many other junglers who benefit from this, but it's also about the mid lane, right? Like, if you have that strong mid and you have the strong jungle, that will start to benefit those teams.
Yeah, definitely. That's the reason we're seeing Taliyah be the #1 priority pick over in the LCK right now, over the guys like Rise, who has huge buffs in terms of the itemization. It's because if you can get that mid lane pushing, you can support your jungler in establishing vision much faster. Also, it's interesting to note that on this patch, we're seeing a lot less sweepers on the mid laners as well. Typically, level 9, on the mid lane, you swap to sweeper, and then you clear out the warding from the enemy team. Right now, we're seeing people stick to the totem ward much longer just to set up vision in the enemy jungle.
Yeah, exactly. It really just come about trying to get those invades happening, because we saw that in the last set right there. It was just like, well, Amy was looking at his own jungle. He knew Rek'Sai was there. He looks at the bottom jungle and it's like, well, Rek'Sai could be there too, so what do? Moves towards the mid lane, gives the back timing over to his mid laner, and so much focus is around that it seems like we're mostly just going to be looking at mid lane. Because we look at top lane, most part we're seeing a lot of tanks come out, and we sometimes see carries, but then also we see like bone plating come out, so it's like, well, we're not really seeing any trades there. You look towards bottom lane, and that's usually the byproduct of how mid lane and jungle was going. So Definitely. It seems like a lot of what we're going to be seeing is going to be just focused around mid.
Top lane, a lot of power has actually been taken out of that lane with the nerfs to specific champions, so we do see a lot more passivity. It's been more passive.
Yeah, to be honest, you could have just gone over that. As long as you say it quickly enough, that's what I've learned with Chinese in my time here. No one will ever know the difference. If you got the tone wrong, no worries.
Basically, we're all being just polite. Actually,
exactly.
we do notice. But never mind. The only real aggressive pick right now is Camille in the top lane, and the rest of it has been rather passive. And I think what this has led to is we see a lot more suffocation in our games. If there's a winning duo in the mid and jungle and they choke out the vision, it's so hard to get defensive vision right now. Your only source of defensive vision that can't be easily removed is actually from your support. And if you want to defend your own jungle, you have to rely on control wards. But control wards, #1, they're very costly, and second of all, they can be removed very easily. So the games we've been seeing right now is once a mid and jungle duo get ahead, they tend to stay ahead and they choke the entire game out. It's very one-sided games. Like, it almost reminds me a little bit of Season 3, the way that these games are happening. It's just complete vision control on one side of the jungle, and the other side has a very hard time clinging on.
So what are some of the solutions then, Clement? If you're saying that if mid jungle just collapses and then you're on the back foot, then how do you recover? Is it going to be through some of the new itemization, looking towards laners even, going towards some of the eye items, looking to try and pick awards themselves? Or it's just like, get the support up here, we need defensive vision right now?
Yeah, that's the big thing. I think support roaming actually became a lot more important this game, in this current patch. Rusty has also noted this as well as a support player himself, our only challenger support player currently. It's that as a support, you have to leave lane a lot more to help your jungler establish vision, and you also have to be there for defensive vision as well. So there's a lot of focus on just roaming away and leaving your bot laner just kind of on his own as well. And we're also seeing that kind of happen in Korea. Ezreal is still surprisingly a very prominent pick just because you can do that. He's relatively safe. You can leave him in the bot lane and just go elsewhere.
It's actually really interesting how it seems like the whole map warps around how like the mid and jungle goes. It's like, well, you have to pick an AD carry who's able to CS from long range, because if we start losing, then support's going to have to leave and try and defend mid lane and jungle, and how the rest of the map kind of concaves into the mid lane, right? And then you look towards top lane, you probably just got 2 tanks up there. So they're probably just going to keep bashing heads no matter what happens. And that it actually becomes very interesting in top, because it's like you are literally on top islands in this patch. It's just like you have to just hope that your team does well, and if not, then it's like, well, I guess I just lose this game because I have 0 impact.
Yeah, top lane is a very quiet lane. I think it's been warped around mainly the Banner of Command and Scion picks. Yeah. So we've seen the counter picks kind of come out. The Trundle is the big one that we've seen from LCK, and also we've seen more Poppy into the Camille. So those are the 2 big picks that are really warping the entire meta around them, Camille and Scion.
Exactly. We'll see if players will start picking things like the Trundle into the Scion, because we are still seeing that as a first pick a lot of the time, Clem, but we'll see if that is the case, as we are going to send it over to the casters to get us into Game 2.
Thank you, guys. And LGD, will they bring us to a Game 3, or will WE be able to close this out? You got to smirk, because we have to talk about it.
The tough
we
questions,
always have to talk about it, because they are the sleeping dragon. When they wake up, it's terrifying, but they have been asleep for so long.
I don't know if I'm flipping a coin or rolling a dice
At
anymore with
point, yeah.
LGD. Like, it exists somewhere within the realm of LGD's capabilities as a team. They could be the best team on any given day, but that game 1 was nothing short of a disaster for them in the mid-jungle duo, so to speak. And like, the rest of the map's still fine, but that's the most important part of the Rift right now. And honestly, we're looking at that as like, can LGD really shape up when Xie is in this good a form and he's just got a jungler camping his lane constantly? And I do honestly believe that they could if they draft a little bit better. You can't just go late game against Xie, because he'll relish in that fact. He'll beat you in the late game anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we saw in Game 1. Not that it got long enough to go to a late game. The early game was accelerated so quickly. But we know that LGD are going to be on blue side for this Game 2. We know Jinnu likes Camille, likes Gangplank, likes big carry laners, and they've got priority pick. So could this be an opportunity where they try to prioritize top lane, or do they continue to emphasize mid lane, bottom lane?
I mean, it's very hard to say that he will get a counter pick now that firstly he is on blue side, and WE could look towards the other side of the Rift and use the red side as a counter pick respectively. We also saw like 4 bans away from him as well. So ultimately, he's really good at Riven, but they ban Riven. He's also really good at Fiora. It was also banned. Gangplank gone. Like all these Camille gone. They're just going to ban away champions from him that can hard carry, and they're going to force him into something. And there's also the other mantra that 957 can apply here, which is give him Camille and just pick Shen. And just pick a tank and soak him up and have a counter matchup. Pick Poppy, like Clement was mentioning. I do think it's a decent option now.
957 could even try to go for the carry-off. Take that Shen and just build the Triforce like we've already seen here in the LPL. But again, looking towards that lane, so much focus on that jungle-mid duo in this matchup, especially on the likes of patch 8.4. Yuki absolutely suffered in that Game 1. Even during the early laning phase, Xie was stepping up on the likes of this Cassiopeia. And with that sort of threat and presence, even though we saw Amy kind of hovering around the mid lane, Yuki still fell so many times.
It was a weird dynamic to actually watch in the mid lane 1v1. They were trading with each other, and Xie was forcing these trades, but he was doing it very aggressively. Like, he would lose most of his health, but so would Yuki, and then they would both just have to recall. And honestly, I was looking at that and I was like, okay, no one really wins in this 1v1, but the junglers benefit from that 1v1 if there's a lack of vision, and one of them is a Rek'Sai, and you don't have that many wards to place down, right? We saw Rek'Sai constantly stalking Amy and trying to find him, and if the same trades happen in the mid lane and Magic's able to get in, well, then they get a kill. If the same trades happen in the mid lane, but they can see Sejuani coming in, then they know to disengage, or they know to take the 2v2 and continue to get a kill. And this is one of those moments where, for me, I'm like, LGD coming into Game 2, might even want to ban Rek'Sai more than a mid laner away from Xie, just because of what a Rek'Sai can do for your team. With a lack of vision available, the sonar radar that she's got running around with it does wonders.
Yeah, the decision making that we saw from WE based on that vision, based on that knowledge, was excellent. They were able to take the bottom tier 1. They dived in, even though LGD saw it coming. They still followed through with the dive. They had the information saying, all right, PYL has dropped both of his control boards now.
Okay,
we're still going to dive it anyways. And then they proceeded to move around the map, rotating top faster than LGD, pushing mid faster than LGD. It's just so difficult for LGD to try to keep pace when WE are so decisive.
And it proves how capable they are of snowballing games out. If they have a kill lane in the mid lane, if the mid lane gets kills and then the jungler is able to contribute and support that further, moving around the map. And the dive bottom lane is the big one that you would highlight, because that's the one moment that the whole map breaks open, starts to involve top laners if necessary as well, brings them about to the dive. And that one moment breaking the turret, unlocking Azaya and Rakan, allows the support now and the duo to come in with Magic Celestial to work together and to place Vision, something that they have done in the past. They were on a team together in the LSPL, and so they know what placing Vision down around objectives is like together. Then they've just got a big Cassiopeia next to them.
Well, now our analyst desk is just about ready to help us break down this match a little bit more. I do have to say, we do have a brief audio issue on stage, so our analyst desk is going to provide their thoughts on that mid-jungle duo.
Indeed we are, Darren. Thank you so much. And yeah, we do have a small issue on stage right now. We are trying to swap out a computer, so basically we just need a new computer, and then we should be able to fix that issue for you. But I do want to start this one off and just talking a little bit more about the patch, now that we have a little bit of time to talk about it. 8.4 has come in on the LPL. So talking about like the inspiration tree, a lot has changed because now obviously stopwatch now moved to like 10 minutes in terms of when it's activatable. And in the LPL, we've seen a lot of players just completely moved away from it. In fact, the first game we saw yesterday on 8.4, no stopwatches.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. The Nikes really come out ahead, basically. The perfect, the magical footwear. It's just free gold in your pocket, and it benefits you before that 10 minutes. But the new rune we do have to talk about is the Time Warp tonic that is in the bottom row of inspiration. We've actually seen supports go for it quite frequently. And the interesting thing is it gives you 5% extra move speed with an elixir on.
Chug and go.
That's really good. Yeah, chug and go. And it lasts for 3 minutes with a general like elixir of iron. So it actually has quite a lot of value in it in the late game.
So Clement, explain to me why you like Inspiration Tree so much, because I know you were talking to me in the break and you were just like, I feel like Inspiration Tree is the best, and I've never heard an analyst talk about the way that a tree looks.
Alright, so the way I think about Inspiration is basically it's like a rapper's gadget closet.
Alright.
If you're a rapper, you have to go for this tree. It's the coolest tree. Look at the keystones. You have your rhyme book, you have your currency, and you also have your ice hoodie. You have your Nikes and your Rolexes. You know, you have your gin and tonic. You also have a minion dematerializer. Like, you can dematerialize your fools. Like, that's basically the entire kit. And you also have Make It Rain as well. Like, whoever designed that, the visual designer, is a hip-hop head. I know it.
Which one's Make It Rain?
Future Market.
Oh, Future Market. And then which one's the rhyme book?
The rhyme book is Unsealed Spellbook.
Unsealed Spellbook? Oh, of course. Okay, all makes sense. I got the rest of them, but those are the two that I didn't quite get. Okay. And then you said that you don't like Resolve because...
Resolve, it basically looks like a bunch of dead animal skins and some grub. Like, it's not enticing. The visuals of it, it's like, here's a piece of skin from a carcass, and here's this sherb, like a herb or something. Like,
it's like Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's like, I guess if you're a naturalist, you take it, but most of the time, it's not that cool.
I mean, Monster Hunter is pretty cool, right? It's like, do you want to be a cool rapper?
我们是第一次打，然后具体效果还不知道。我们以前的打法可能会比较偏后期，然后最近8.14可能会比较偏前期，所以可能具体情况还要在比赛才能看得出来的结果。然后对自己的状态的话，感觉就自己打rank和打得多，然后训练也训练得多，所以才保持状态的。
Definitely seems like WE have definitely changed their mentality there, saying they are more of like a late game team. But in that game, they won pretty early game.
Yeah, they actually said right there that they were more focused on early game in the current patch 8.4. I'm not sure if that was just like a translation error, but clarifying, Shia did say that they are focusing more on the early game this patch.
Well, that was very obvious because they played around at the mid lane and literally ganked it 3 times, and it would have been 4 times had Amy not shown up the first time. So definitely looking towards that early game. And hey, it worked out for them. You know, they were able to just win the early game, snowball into the bot lane, and then snowball into a win.
Yeah, it's just weird to see Xie being that reserved. So he's always
That's
saying
true.
that it's
Yeah.
like, this is the first time we've set our team together on this patch. We don't know how it's gonna work. We hope it works well. It's like, if I was actually interviewing and doing the translation, I would try to like spice it up. It's like, we're doing well on this patch or something.
Yeah, I mean, she's usually more assertive than that as well.
Yeah, he's quite funny because in the mic checks we actually hear him. I remember this from the last bit. He actually went like, he set the mic on stage and was like, "Everyone, lie down. I will carry you." That's what he's usually like. So
Yeah.
he's a bit of a trash talker. It's kind of weird to see him, and I do feel like it's probably the absence of Condi and Zero
Ben.
stepping in, like 2 new players on the team, and it's a really interesting question on how W are going to restructure themselves.
Sure.
They are in a new patch that's going to decide their playoff setting. And if you look at their journey to the East, like this match is really pivotal for them because they've only lost to the big 3 in RNG, IG, and RW, but they won against everyone else. That makes them a solid playoff team if they win today.
Yeah, they need to try and get that structure back together, but they are going to get another chance now as the teams are ready, so we're going to send it back over to Cassus to get us into game.
Thank you, guys, and riveting conversation there. We hope that Xie will continue to perform well, because that is something that we have to talk about, the restructuring of WE as we get closer to playoffs, and it does look to be quite exciting to see how this team grows with their 2 new players. But as we've already said, pick and ban on your screen Kassadin, Braum, and Sion with an Azir first pick for LGD, whereas WE, again, banning away Jinnu and PYL. Tom Kench, Riven, and Camille.
The one change from LGD this time around is no Galio to be banned away from Xie. So now the opportunity is going to be there for him to pick it if he would like. The adaptation, of course, is the Sion. So now with the Azir locked in first, I mean, WE don't have a need to pick it early if they don't want to. And with the Xayah, you should definitely pick the second partner in crime. You absolutely go for Rakan in the 1 rotation, and you do not let PYL take that from him.
Very powerful bottom lane. We've already seen how successful they were in Game 1, though with Caitlyn still open, FDY will now pick up Varus for himself in the bottom lane. We'll have to see how this matches up. Are we going to be looking at the support here from LGD?
You could go towards the Braum now if you wanted to pick up a support, but of course they banned it from themselves, so it's not going to be an easy choice for them now. It's Harm Kench gone with Braum gone. Alistar is again the next best thing in the support role, and if they don't pick it now, which is still okay, just remember that the risk of having it banned away is very high now.
And now we have the Olaf picked up, likely for Amy in the jungle. Now that does mean that top lane is still open for LGD along with PYL, as you mentioned. So perhaps LGD are going to ban the supports, perhaps they're going to ban away the top lane. They just have to pick which has the better priority for the 2 of them.
That's certainly the case. Of course, you could be looking towards something like the Gnar band away from 957 as well, specifically. LGD did that last time. So again, diversity is available. If they want to ban out PYL, WE, they can for sure. They can get rid of the Alistar though, and the Leona, of course, one of the few champions that only PYL really plays out of the LPL, but he's one of the few that can do it.
Absolutely. Seems like the likes of PYL and Ming for RNG, very famous on the 2 champions. Jarvan now going to be banned away from Magic, as they know they've already got their own jungler with that Olaf and a Fiora.
You know, I wonder if Rek'Sai will be banned with it just for the vision control that Magic's able to provide alongside that. But in saying that, Olaf can absolutely take it to a Rek'Sai. If they ever meet each other in the jungle, Rek'Sai doesn't always have the highest of health bars. And Amy can farm very quickly, can match the Rek'Sai as the Olaf.
Kha'Zix instead going to be picked away from Magic.
And I like that actually. Someone that instead of just matching the jungle speed, Kha'Zix can come into your jungle. Olaf loves to do full clears, which requires low health. And so instead of having any kind of assassins that can upset the balance of the jungling, you will have something a little bit more matched or more tempered perhaps.
Looks like we might see Magic return to the likes of this Rek'Sai, another void creature that likes to make its home in the jungle, as Magic will be trying to trace it around and maintain vision. And this is where we look to how these teams use the champions they've now locked in for themselves. We know it's Azir, Olaf, and Ryze, Rek'Sai. Will Magic and Xie try the same thing they did in Game 1, or are they going to change it up to match the Olaf Azir?
We also are about to find out if the Shen is going towards the top lane as a blind pick, or if they're going to put it into the support role. Jinnu loves himself some carries, so this is why I say it should be support, is Gangplank exists, Rumble exist, but he doesn't know his matchup, and Gangplank's the safer of the two.
Saving that counter pick for 957. Gnar locked in for Jinnu in the top lane. Wasn't quite able to put out some huge work in game 1 on the likes of that Vladimir. Now he gets to play into the same champion he took in that previous match.
Yeah, the Vladimir locked in for 957 into the Gnar, a matchup that can absolutely poke you down. 957 will have a very rough time early, but of course always scales up, does a whole lot of damage. If he finds a good trade against the mini Gnar, then it can still chunk away Jinnu's health bar. And so far, we've just spoken about the top lane matchup. I would expect that it tends to stay as that 1v1 in the first place anyway. Nothing really crazy about teleport plays from WE's side. It is still about that mid lane jungle duo. This time around, WE, they've got the Ryze. Xie's got one of his best champions. He can move around the map, can use the Ryze ultimate, can influence other lanes, or just influence the jungle with the W for guaranteed crowd control. Olaf, once he hits 6, the crowd control won't hit, but prior to that, I do say that WE have a lot of chances.
Certainly a very strong team, and after that performance in game 1, they're going to be riding that momentum, riding that emotional high from that victory, and of course the fans in the crowd happy to cheer them on. LGD now need to reset their mentality coming into this game 2 if they want to try to bring it to a game 3. You just saw running down the player lines, WE looking rather happy with some smiles on their faces. LGD are all business. This is serious time as Xie and 957 staring down at LGD, not just from their game 1 victory, but also from the standings, 6-5 to 3-7.
LGD with a very high need towards getting some victories, but WE the same. If they want to stay in the playoffs run, they want to get higher into the playoffs run for a better gauntlet experience for themselves. This win is crucial. Cross-conference wins are always crucial, to be fair, as this is the one time you will face down your opponent. LGD against WE. Expectations are still there for Team WE to come out strong in this second game. LGD have got an answer, however, this time around. Olaf and Shen going in tandem is not an easy thing to stop from killing your carries.
As we get ready to load onto the Rift for this Game 2 between WE and LGD, we'll have to hear if the fans can continue to provide that high energy, that high volume, as we heard in Game 1.
There.
Yeah, the WE fans a little bit louder here in this game too, but we did hear a lot of representation from Team LGD. So still some very die-hard fans in Hangzhou. And now, LGD, now it's time to show us what they have got. This time we don't see the smite start out of 957, as Jinnu will actually step forward and immediately starting to put some hurt onto 957.
Very good from Jinnu getting 2 AoE procs out there as well. And now he presses towards the jungle. He will see right now that, of course, the red buff has not been started from Magic. There is no Rek'Sai on the top side of the map. That does influence where Amy's going to be playing the early game. But at the same time, knowing that the Rek'Sai should be pathing towards top lane, gets the proper leash from the AD carry and support duo, the ward timing is also just as important. The 3-minute ganks that a Rek'Sai can do on the top side can be very creatively pathed. And so it's very hard to place vision for it sometimes.
Ooh, Celestial taking a lot of damage along with Mystic as FDY and PYL once again starting in lane for the early lane advantage. Make use of it by taking a very favorable trade.
Yeah, they absolutely smacked Team WE's bottom lane for the 2v2, and that's a Rakan Xayah that are usually super strong at level 1, but a Shen, if the taunt ever connects, just has so much presence in those trades, and there's nothing really that Mystic or Celestial can do but run away. There's a fleet footwork, so we'll be able to get some health back for himself, of course, Mystic in the end. That's not an ideal way to start.
And we can see lots of pings going down onto the jungle. Looks like Yuki just stepped forward to place a ward just in front of the Raptor camp. Magic hasn't been spotted yet, but if he steps forward, he will be. And Amy going for his own Raptors.
Yeah, but also changing up the Olaf runes almost completely. Sorcery is usually the secondary tree for any Olaf. You want Water Walking and Celerity. It tends to be the way to go, but this time around Bone Plating, and I believe that is second win for his jungling. Now, that's not going to help with his damage output by any means, but that does make him significantly more tanky with the Bone Plating there, and sustain a little bit better through trades with the second wind. It's just a style choice, it feels like to me, for Amy in this instance. He does prefer to be a tank for the most part.
And with that, we'll see where Amy decides to navigate this. As Magic shows himself. 957 starts off the aggro, drops Ignite. Jinu steps in and flashes right back under. Magic gets the reset, but with Ignite, that's first blood. Meanwhile, an engage in the bottom lane as Mystic and Celestial step forward. FDY gets good damage. Amy steps forward just to force the disengage.
They have to be careful there, Celestial and Mystic. Taking trades when their jungler is diving on the top side of the map can be very risky, but they're okay in the end. The trade works out for the 2v2. Amy's just going to be constantly threatening a dive. If PYL hits a flash taunt, they can go. But speaking towards the top lane, very well done from 957 and from Magic. It's a pre-6 Rek'Sai gank. It's a gank that we said may well happen with a blue to red side jungle clear. And whilst Jinu may have tried to respect that fact, it was a big stack of minions that were coming into his turret. He didn't trim down the hedges well enough. And it just bowled over him.
Now we can see the defensive ward for WE is about to time out. How close is Amy to the timer of this? He's still sitting here.
Oh, there's a Rek'Sai behind him.
Steps forward and is spotted by the expiring zombie ward. Even though waiting it out was a good idea, it didn't work. They turn onto PYL, who still goes in as Magic gets over. Mystic forced to flash away. He heals. Snare lands on the PYL, but is not enough to kill him as the heal from FDY keeps him safe.
No kill's actually going to happen in the end there, Dom, but a lot of summoner spells have to be used. You can see how quickly Magic decides to go from top to bot side, even if there's no jungle camps available. And that's the shot calling from WE saying, we will get dove if this continues to happen. And then they just try and turn it around. They choose to take the fight. And ultimately, whilst no one dies, LGD still win that bottom lane trade because their AD carry still at full health.
And that's going to make farming that much easier in the mid lane. You can see Xie still stepping up onto Yuki with the likes of that Rise, demonstrating that exact same aggression from game one on a huge champion for him. Mystic is trying to heal up with the fleet footwork as Celestial is even helping to try clear the wave with that AoE.
Yeah, very clear signs that WE want to recall. FDY also playing without the Shen down there, 1v2ing, so lots of respect from the Varus, trying not to overreach by any means, but at the same time knowing that he is strong enough to control the lane. So good reservations, honestly, from the AD carry of LGD. Still playing it out nicely. They get themselves both a free recall in the end.
And they're going to be able to start off with a call. So nice defensive start from Mystic once again. Looks like Pickaxe. Let's start things out from FDY. PYL with a bit of a cheeky roam. Finds himself unable to get in onto Xie, who's still holding on to his flash, though still we're seeing a lot of patience from LGD as Yuki gets level 6. They follow it up. That's the Realm Warp. He's taunted and dies before he can escape.
3 people come into the mid lane to take down Xie. The game plan is always very clear, and this time around, there is no Rek'Sai to keep him alive because a third party intervenes in the end, and they secure themselves the mid laner of Team WE. Great stuff from LGD.
Perhaps looking to put down what was such a strong member, Yuki, with the slide.
Yep, slides, it gets him in. Of course, the crowd control was necessary from PYL. Olaf doesn't have any, so it looked okay for Rise at the very start there. An 8.4, no stopwatches, no chance to get out.
Now that does put LGD on the board here in this game 2 at a much earlier pace than game 1. Perhaps these patience in the roams could be the way they try to take the team over the rest of this match.
I would still say, though, that a Rise and a Rek'Sai in any kind of 2v2s has the advantage currently. Rise is just super strong regardless of not having a single summoner spell, but that was a teleport. He kept the flash the entire time. So even though he did go down, LGD used a flash on the Shen. They used a lot to get in there to secure him. Yuki had to use the ultimate as well. WE have a window where I would still say they are in control and they are in power.
And now 7 minutes and 20 seconds in, blue buff picked up, and WE are going to use that power to clear out some of this vision on the bottom half of the map. Infernal Dragon, huge priority for these teams.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, if we mention the inside track that WE should have towards it, we first have to look towards the top lane and how they can influence the forthcoming team fights as well. Because right now, we did see a dive that happened on the top lane. Jinu went down, and 957 got a bit of control in his lane. But he's chosen to keep the teleport, for, the Ignite for the time being over a teleport or anything of the likes. And so they want to keep it at a 4v4. And right now is the best opportunity to commit to this with a blue buff on Rise and with no chance for top laners to intervene.
WE just identifying the timing, even managing to spot Yuki as he stepped over to take the blue buff that was being passed over from Amy. So still showing that intelligent decision making that we saw from them in this game 1. And now with that first dragon, the map is going to pull back a little bit more.
Do you think there is a champion that benefits from Honeyfruit as much as a Rek'Sai does?
Kai'Sa. Ooh, Flash, Chains of Corruption, and the Shadow Dash. Mystic, not level 6, is caught by the CC and will go down. Ooh, you hate to see that happen. Double kill for Amy.
But you get the kill, the lane gank from an Olaf, and most importantly, of course, the Varus is able to enable this in the first place. Hits the ult, level 5 to level 6, major advantage for the Varus, and that's just very clear cut from LGD. Nothing exceptional, nothing crazy or out of the ordinary. They just get a lane gank, they utilize an experience advantage, and this lets them push bottom lane very heavily.
Teleport being used. Unsealed Spellbook on Celestial to get him in. Magic now shows himself. Celestial misses the knockup, as that's going to be Xie catching the wave, getting most of that experience while his bottom lane is dead. Still holding on to that teleport as he makes his way towards the mid lane, though. Hopping over the wall, they will spot PYL, but will not be able to catch him.
They wanted to stop the Varus from recalling, I think, as well there. There was a couple of pings going down towards FDY. But he does get back to base, he is able to recall. And now Celestial stepping up, not actually stopping PYL. Just trying to get some control, trying to get some area of effect with vision in the jungle, but Amy wants none of that.
Yeah, quick undertow to force Celestial out of that jungle as Xie heads back into the mid lane. And LGD now find themselves with the advantage as we crest towards the 10-minute mark.
It's amazing what a jungler can do, Dom.
Yeah.
He's here this time around. Amy's showing up. He's ganking in the right areas. They're working around their mid laner a little bit more so. And whether that is the lack of control that the Ryze has in the 1v1 is yet to be noted. However, Xie is not having near as much of an impact as he did with the Cassiopeia.
At least so far. Still rocking that Catalyst and the Tier and the Negatron Cloak. So going for the nice tanky build on this Ryze. 957 still trying to keep Jinnu locked down in the mid lane here. You can see those Gnar changes. But Jinnu seems to be doing just fine so far, despite giving up that first blood, as he's just... His job is to catch CS and get big later on. And it seems like that's what he's doing for now.
That was an interesting thing, of course, though, is that he probably wanted to have control of the lane, at least for a little bit longer than he did. But because he died, he had to rush his Spectre's cow. He had to go super defensive with his itemization choices. You can see his items on your screen now. And that means that the Vladimir does get a much more free laning phase experience. Can have the Proto Belt completed, nothing really able to impede him. Vladimir is getting very strong and can influence the map right now with that item spike. You compare that to Jinnu, probably has to recall, and yeah, he gets himself a phage, but that still doesn't compare. I mean, 957's even switched to teleport for the purpose of using it right now.
Seems like a completely different play style. No Eye of the Watcher is not going to be taking vision or slow scaling or anything. He looks like he's ready to fight right now. As it is, though, LGD
a lot of wards.
Starting to set up some vision. Yeah, like you said, they've got some wards on that Raptor camp on the Krugs on the bottom side. The wave is pushed in up top, so he's going to step forward and try to clear out some vision in the river as Magic tries to open a pathway for Xie.
Well, Amy is stronger right now. There's no chance for Magic to take any kind of 1v1s. Firstly, it's a level advantage, let alone any kind of red buffs, which he does have as well. And the Predator is available for Amy, so any moment he can win that 1v1. That's why Magic is just there for vision, just throwing out Prey Seekers, the P-Shooter, try and get some control and maybe just scare Amy a little bit more. Amy was already on vision in the first place.
And take a look at all of those wards placed by WE on that bottom half of the map that are all now being cleared out by PYL. He is having a field day as he drops 2 of them. Can't trade back against Scuttlecrab, though.
The importance as well at this stage in the game is that Celestial had upgraded his support item already, so he has the 4 wards, and he has placed those wards, which is why they have so many inside LGD's jungle, alongside, of course, Magic, who's able to step up. But during all of this time, there still isn't an upgraded support item for PYL. He's a bit behind. He's only just got it now.
Still, we can see Jinnu trading happily with 957. Now that he's completed his phage, he's a lot more able to try to control this lane. And Amy's up here with red buff, able to sneak in behind the vision as the wave gets pushed out.
Making another attempt. It is very hard to dive a Vladimir, but he is level 10, not 11, so missing a bit of damage. But he has a Proto Belt to clear waves if need be, but hello, here they go.
There's the Predator. He drops down. Sanguine pull as aggro is reset. He sidesteps, flashes away to get out. The slam is still going to catch him as Yuki roams just as fast as the Rise teleport. 4 members from LGD dive. They find 1 kill. Will they be able to find a second? They do. Yuki locks it down.
And the difference is Yuki. The difference is PYL. The Shen's available, and LGD suddenly get themselves a massive dive onto the top lane. And not just 1 kill to be seen, but 2. Yes, WE are responding, but LGD, they get the turrets, and they get the kills to boot. So any kind of gold advantage that Mystic got was completely nullified.
You can see the Rift Herald being started by LGD to continue this momentum as the top tier 1 is now broken by Jinnu. LGD being swift and decisive in this matchup. Could be the type of game where we see WE have to resort to the late game playstyle that we heard about from just before this match.
And we've seen this from EDG as well when they didn't have iBoy playing in the roster, but they put a Shen into the team composition. They let the shot caller contribute to these fights, and this dive right now, 957 gets a lot of health back. There was a chance that if Yuki wasn't here to contribute that excess of damage, that maybe that dive wasn't going to work. But PYL also shows up to ensure that Xie is not getting any trade kills whatsoever. Nothing goes the way of Team WE in that top lane.
And look at that. Completed Nashor's Tooth along with finished Black Cleaver for LGD. You've already got the Predator Boots along with the, not the Skirmisher's Saver, the Tracker's Knife. Not the Tracker's Knife. That's the one that was Blue Smite. You know the item. We'll get there eventually. And we're seeing LGD start to build up an advantage for themselves with these kills, with this decisiveness, taking dives, taking fights both bottom and then top. WE, though, are going to turn onto this Mountain Dragon.
They're still feeling it. They still find an opportunity to perhaps look towards the objective, and whether it's recall timers or just acknowledging that they have strengths down here in the first place. 957, of course, without teleport. Walked hit. So they're able to secure themselves a second Drake of the game. Both great Drakes to pick up for themselves, and it's not like there's a massive gold lead for LGD either. Though they're making more proactive plays and they look significantly better in this game, this isn't a game-changing amount of lead that they've got for themselves by any means.
Don't mind Xie just missing every single one of those Qs.
Juke sometimes.
Sometimes they do. But like you said, yeah, LGD, they're finding the kills, but they're not really doing anything with them just yet. They've taken the top tier 1. They've got the Rift Herald in their pocket, but they still need to actively use this to further break the base of WE, whom we know are excellent at turtling. If anyone's going to stall a game out and gracefully lose, it's WE. As I say that, 957 split away from his team. He's got the Proto Belt, drops into Sanguine Pool. No dive out of LGD.
Yeah, they try and find 957, but it was just an opportunistic moment to go towards the bottom lane, and they just find it unsuspecting Vladimir. What it really means and what they're really looking for, LGD, is the bottom lane outer turret. They're rotating Yuki around on the Azir when he gets to clear mid wave. Now, there is a blue buff on the Rise, so clearing mid lane becomes a little bit harder as time goes on. But their next step is what we look at for LGD. I do think the bottom lane outer is the one to look for.
Especially now that the Celestial Mask is finished on CA, that's going to make it even more difficult for him to dive as he happily presses a single button and kills 4 minions. But Amy dropped the Rift Herald. While minions might be easy for CA to clear, Rift Herald, not so much.
Nope, it's just going to one-hit the turret as well, so very well executed from LGD, finding a time to place down the Herald. It's going to get a second charge up, not full health, but enough to do some serious damage. LGD constantly threatening. Right now, by being here, they unlock the bottom turret to be taken for free as well.
Yeah, you can even see FTY pulled down Jinnu, as you said, pushing bottom. Even the Azir turret dropped on Xie's old mid lane turret. So LGD quickly just set themselves up a bastion that allows them to move forward and set up a whole lot of vision on this bottom half of the map. Now that the turret is gone, all 3 outers, we have to look for the next step, the evolution of LGD. Are WE just going to bind and kill Yuki here? There's the knockup, there's the crowd control, the bounce house, the AoE, and he flashes to the side. PYL follows through, Magic cannot get the leap, and Yuki escapes.
They tried to get him, but he's a little bit too slippery. The Shen, of course, providing a shield is pretty much the amount of health that he has available. Yeah. And once again, PYL showing that he's at least looking at his team and they're communicating for where to. Well, WE are finding opportunities, they're taking chances. They're looking for the chance perhaps to kill Yuki, but he has the cleanse. He's had it since the beginning of the game, and Xie even flashed for that one and doesn't find it. This is a very poor situation for WE right now as they try and trade, they try and hold back, and they try and push.
but find themselves unable to as LGD set up vision and escape the picks. We can see a bit of a skirmish on the top half of the map as Mystic is running away from the Predator Olaf and does not make it far enough. Amy with the undertow finds a kill and continues to chase. He's within range by now. Tosses the undertow, but misses.
Yeah, he's not going to get Celestial. He's looking for magic, perhaps. Celestial, of course, has summoners and spells to get himself out alive. Not summoner spells, but different things. Again, Rakan's hard to find. At the same time, though, we're seeing trades from LGD that are going positively. Mystic, no summoner spells, and dead. They get to continue to push. This is such a strong and commanding showing from LGD in contrast to what we've seen.
Oh, diving onto Magic in the mid lane. He's running for his life as Celestial goes in and allows him to disengage, but the mid-tier 2 is being sieged. Xie is being zoned away by Yuki, who's a full level up. This is a completely different LGD from game 1. I don't know what their coach said, but I have got to hear it in my ranked games.
4,000 gold ahead now. Yuki unlocked. Amy 3-0-3. In stark contrast of his game 1 performance. We get to see how Mystic and Celestial get caught here in the first place. It's the Varus ultimate, it's the Flash Shen taunt. They just find a moment, and then the Predator, of course, on the Olaf is enough to just flash in and do damage with the undertows. And all of the damage they've got for themselves. Mystic and Celestial falling behind. Xie already behind. 957 was that last place you could look towards and say maybe he can contribute. Maybe he can teleport and team fight, but that's hardly an option anymore. Jinu's controlling him.
1,400 gold advantage for Jinu. Yuki with about a 1,700 gold advantage. Despite going down twice, we still see Mystic with a gold advantage, about over 1,000 over FDY. So still a good play out of Mystic. If he can survive long enough. There's an Olaf charging at him. There will be a Gnar trying to slam him back. This is going to be a very difficult fight for WE if they want to try to get themselves back into this game 1, because LGD are looking very, very confident.
And now the shoe is on the other foot, of course, as we've noted between these games. WE are very good at holding on. They always have been. Now's another chance to see if they can do that with Magic and Celestial as they try and go top.
That's even going to be a teleport used. Realm Warp to try to get in. Oh, PYL so close, but does not catch up with the Shadow Dash in time as Magic and Xie back away from that potential overextension.
They'll be okay in the end. Rise Ultimate has to be expended to get them out, so they're not going to have that available for any rotations, any movement of minions. And they were looking towards Yuki, so they do get the ultimate from Yuki as a response, and in the end, mid laners do just trade their ultimates. But back to the point, Dom. We have to see if WE are able to be the same WE that we know of old, that can hold on, that can stand resilient and last to 35 minutes and get a team fight with Celestial and Magic in the roster. Xie 0-2 has been contained. The big strength of this team is not there in this second game. WE not looking as strong.
And you know, that's exactly what you were talking about before this game 1. We have to look at who steps up to be the carry for these teams. Who's going to really help them win? For WE, it is Xie. With how he's been performing lately. Now that he's kind of been locked down, LGD have a chance to flex with the carry of their own. Yuki coming up big, 2-0-1, escaping multiple gank attempts. Amy chasing down WE as Ocean Dragon is picking up as merely a penance by LGD.
The biggest thing that Yuki has done in this set, whilst he has stepped up, is he's worked with Amy. They've actually found themselves in an advantage in the 2v2. And that's what we've been stressing so far today between these teams. If there's one carry for each respective roster on Jinu and Xie for each team, well, the fact that there's someone new now for LGD means that perhaps they've got multiple ways to win the game, but that hasn't shifted for WE. 957 isn't doing anything crazy. Magic's trying. He's 1-0, but that was very early on in the game, and it was a dive onto the Gnar, and that was the last we saw of him.
Not able to make anything happen for WE. Their only kill, that first blood from so long ago, seeming to be so little now, as they are 4,000 gold behind LGD, 22 minutes in. And still, LGD try to keep the pressure on. Adaptive Helm finished off for Jinu. He's going to be able to push up bottom, so doesn't have to worry too much about the banner of command for 957. And LGD, what's next for them? They've got some big items. They've got an advantage for themselves. Is it just continue to hunt for picks on WE?
Well, the answer for this one is actually very easy. It's just going to be the Baron this time around. With all of the outers gone, with a lot of pressure on Gnar, split pushing in the bottom lane as well, and you can tell that he's running back towards that lane. He wants to keep the Vladimir busy and down there.
He's almost got teleport too.
Hey, you just look towards the Baron. You're able to control vision through having the tower advantage, through having superior warding right now, and just having the strength in numbers and champions to at least have the vision set up and established here. And through that vision, yes, you can get a pick before you do the objective, but the major goal is, of course, the Baron.
Then we look to WE to respond correctly and not fall prey to such a strategy
They're
as the
responding
vision
right
is
now.
being placed. Yeah, WE stepping forward. Celestial looking for the quickness, looking for the grand entrance.
They're responding by bringing 957 here, not teleporting him in. They walk him to the area. This will really hurt the inner turret on the bottom lane for WE. May even zone him away from the structures as well. There's a lot of damage that goes down. This can continue to happen for LGD. Sooner or later, the turret falls if 957 continues to leave. And then the second 957 leaves, they get vision again.
That said, he's even holding on to that teleport and still decides to walk over himself as Mystic tries to get some harass onto FDY. 2 items, Essence Reaver, Phantom Dancer, to the 2 items of that Varus with Winsu's Wit's End. And still, it's a constant battle over vision of this side of the map. Celestial has 1 ward and 2 control wards left, and there aren't any trinkets ready for WE outside of that.
I mean, for what it's worth, Xie has got pretty similar items to that of Yuki, and Mystic does have pretty similar items to that of FDY. If we look at the damage output, of course, but the Azir has so much control of an area with Amy standing in front of him, with Jinnu in front of him, and with PYL with the ultimate as well as he's ticked over to 11. They are still in control.
Chains of Corruption. Celestial with the cleanse escapes. Doesn't have to use his ultimate as magic. Able to reaction tunnel away as the Chains of Corruption hit.
Not bad. Of course, they survived the first attempt at a pick from LGD, still playing around their vision control, still trying to generate those picks before they commit themselves to an objective. And whether they're waiting for item spikes or not, LGD have a very clear-cut plan around the Baron that they want to execute on. But they've gone back to base. WE find a chance to at least chip this dead dive.
Oh, and they immediately dive. FDY with the CC. They find their second kill of the game. Xie might be thinking of going in. That's the teleport from Meganar. Jinnu joins the fight. He's looking for the slam. He's only found Xie. Heal keeps him up, but a grand knockup tries to keep him safe. And look at the damage. Yuki with the Sand Soldiers locks him down. Xie on the side keeps Amy dissuaded, but now it's Jinnu's time to shine. He steps forward, chucking out so many boomerangs. And there's only so much Xie can do. Realm Warp is canceled. He goes down. Another kill for LGD.
PYL has got Xie completely on lockdown. There is nothing that this Ryze can contribute to the game right now. Xie not contributing means that WE are pretty much just losing team fights, and suddenly they get their opportunity around the Baron. Magic is here, but Magic has no health. He does have a smite, however. You have to keep your eyes peeled on what WE's jungler can do, and if a miracle is going to happen.
Oh, Jinnu over the wall. Magic tries to get in. That's the tunnel used. He's still got flash. Bewail ready with the shadow dash on the side. 957 to Celestial doing damage. Sand Soldiers doing even more, but Magic still looking for it. 1100. Magic does go in. He flashes as it goes down. Amy brings down the axes for an execution. LGD with the Baron.
And LGD do not make that a 50-50. They do not just continue to hit it. It all starts with the dive in the middle lane. It all starts with FDY just dying. And suddenly Amy, he finds his chance. He finds his moment. Mystic doesn't ult the Gnarl. It was a flash ultimate, yes, but no respect paid by the fact that he was next to a wall. And he pretty much just dies to Yuki and Jinnu with all the crowd control there. So much disrespect from him means the AD carry is gone. Team WE, they've got Xie, and he thinks he's about to get out, but the Shen's here. Because of the ultimate, he covers the distance, and just like that, another member falls, and the Baron is theirs to take.
27 minutes in. Banner of Command just picked up by Amy, and a full 3 minutes on the likes of that Baron buff ticking away. Jinnu, you can see some of his stats here. Some of the most solo kills in the LPL at 9. His damage per minute is huge, along with that damage efficiency. He's been doing work for the team, even with nearly a full tank Gnar.
Yeah, the only people in front of him in solo kills is Xiang and the Shy, and one of those is very much a prolific solo killer in his respective lanes, but being third puts him above members like Flandre, who love themselves some top lane focus. Jinnu, no exception to that rule.
Absolutely, as LGD will now use that momentum to start pushing up some side lanes. They don't have teleport on anyone, but if they just stack up as 5, they could be just as powerful. Yuki pushes up mid. The rest of LGD take that Earth Dragon. And now set their eyes on the bottom tier 2. That's also the banner of command used.
And I really don't know if there is any strategy from WE that can counteract a banner of command cannon minion right now as well. Ryze has to step up, or Azaya has to step up, but that's into what's soon to be a Mega Nara. Varus ultimate, Azir's range as well, and they really can't defend.
Jinu steps in, he gets the slow. Now Mystic gets the respect. They turn onto Jinu, look at the damage, he's still up though. 957 goes in and gets pushed right back out. Sanguine Pool to reset as he heals away. Yuki with the chase, engages onto Xie. He's able to out-damage him with that gold advantage, but the inhib line has been shattered.
They don't even use the cannon minion, they just walk up and take the turret down with the pressure they have themselves, with the zoning that they're able to exert. Compliments of Jinu jumping forwards. And he barely has a tank item to his name, but still the presence is there, because Mystic is the only one that can hurt him. Xie, 957, they do not have the capabilities to take him down, and there's only one Void Staff so far. Of course, there is a Spellbinder, so we get to look at that before we see the Void Staffs. And it is actually Xie that has picked this up in lieu of the Void.
Yeah, we'll be doing some big damage for him as he fights longer and longer in these fights, but of course, he needs to be able to survive that long to deal damage back. LGD, they have just been so fast going in and out. Now they're ready back in the mid lane. I want to see the timer on Amy's next banner of command. It should be coming up rather soon as Celestial makes it back to base. The wave is crashing in. Jinu still pushing up top.
Top lane is the place to look towards next for LGD. Mid lane can be threatened, but top is the free turret. So you push into mid lane, you threaten the mid lane, you draw attention, then you just go straight to top lane. Or Jinu, of course, can just solo that one out himself.
Of course, Ryze definitely going to benefit from all of that extra stats on that Spellbinder, stacking up to nearly 100.
But look at Amy.
He's at 88 right now, and Celestial goes in. That's the Spellbinder used. Xie immediately has to turn him back away as Celestial turns it right around. Top tier 2 has been broken. They're on the inhib, and that's going to be the engage. They're going to try to end the game right here. Amy steps forward, has to back away. He's at such low health, but still alive. Whoa. Mystic chunked down so low by Yuki, who is doing some big damage for his team.
And this just almost feels like lights out completely for Team WE. They're trying their hardest to trade, but there's too many tanks, there's too much frontline, and there's too much pressure from LGD to even respond at all. WE, not just on the back foot, but being pressured even further. I think 8.4 has made WE's antics.
Has given them antics.
No, has made their antics harder to execute. They can't just sit back and wait till 35 minutes. They lose at 30.
No,
that's... Yeah, good job.
Well done, Frank.
Made the meaning of their antics.
But those antics are what has been so true to WE's identity for so long. They've always had the ability to fall back as a late-game team. We even heard from Xie, if we don't take an early advantage, we can just sit back and try to defend. There's nothing that can deal with those banner minions anymore.
They can't do that.
Well, on their current champion lineup, I should say. If they had the likes of a Scion or Minion Dematerializer from 957, but they do not. They have got to deal with it the good old-fashioned way. Get in its face and kill it.
Of course, this obsession with Xayah as well from Mystic. Not that Xayah is a weak champion, but with the likes of Caitlyn available, they still opt into it as an early rotation for themselves. And suddenly, defense on the losing side here is very difficult to execute on. If the Xayah Khan were winning, well then it's not really an issue, it's not something that we need to discuss. But because they're losing, there's not a lot that a Xayah can do. WE's best answer is actually to just engage. And that is one of the ways to counteract any kind of Baron buff cannon minions pushing forwards. But with how far behind they are, 10,000 gold, engaging requires perfection to even trade.
And LGD, they're not giving any opportunity for WE to look for perfection, let alone execution. Banner now shoving up top along with Jinu, pushing in the bottom lane with super minions. He swaps around to the mid to look for a rotation on the side, but this inhibitor is being attacked slowly but surely. Its health goes down. 957 teleports in from behind. This is the fight you were talking about, Rusty. The AoE is stacked up, but an Emperor's Divide resets it. Roborf gets in the back. FDY goes down. Mystic has died, but Magic is still trying to trade back. Xie chases forward. He gets one with Magic, but 1v3, there's nothing Xie can do. 3 members of WE are dead against the 3 members still standing for LGD.
And Magic and Celestial have no way to defend this. Amy's just going to keep him busy as well. This game is over, Dom.
Turning onto the Nexus turrets, Jinu and PYL finishing it off. Celestial tries to get in as Magic gets slammed down by Jinu. Just to add the icing to the cake, and Rusty, The fans in Hangzhou are going to be nice and loud for LGD because we are going to a Game 3.
It was a shaky Game 1 performance from LGD, and most of it did revolve around the mid-jungle duo. But now we come into the second game, and they get another chance to redeem themselves, and they absolutely did. This time around, a strong showing from Amy, a stronger showing even from Yuki, rotating around the map, working in tandem, and just cementing themselves a lead in the game. Allows for the easy closeout, giving PYL the freedom to leave his lane, giving the shot caller the freedom to help close out the game. The Shen was massive as well. And honestly, LG, they drafted better, they played better, and they executed on those plays significantly better than Game 1.
And I kind of joked about it during the game, but what on earth did their coach, Acorn, say backstage to turn them around? This is a completely different LGD. Same 5 players, but absolutely different way of making it happen.
I reckon he just went up to them all and did the Reaper. Do you have your brain today? The brain checks.
Just walks around, flicks them all in the head a few times. No, I hear it in there.
Is it in there?
Yeah.
It certainly was in there, though, Dom.
Yeah.
They looked very good in this second game. Better than I expected to see from them. Even if LG looked good, missing their AD carry, and FDY actually did look like the weak link in this game. Got out of position a few times, overstepping himself a few times. But everywhere else was fairly clean.
Yeah, Yuki absolutely made up for it in the mid lane. But now it's up to our analysts to break down what happened in Game 2.
Cheers, Dom, and it was indeed a much cleaner game coming out of LGD this time around. Definitely seemed to not only get the draft together, but also how they were executing it on it in-game as well, Clement.
Yeah, they've had a much better game plan. I think that fits their team better. It is about creating action from PYL. It's not like Game 1 where you just do nothing and sit back. They need action, and they like that kind of chaos around in the game. So the big things about this draft is that they got a much better matchup for Jinu in the top lane, and they also picked up Olaf, one of the new rising stars of 8.4. With this champion, you almost have a guarantee win in terms of the early game, and I like how they played it. First gank into the bot lane, forces summoners, and then when Olaf hits 6, there's no flashes on Mystic, instantly goes into that lane and gets a kill. That's how you want to play the champion. It's a very easy snowball to create in the bot lane, and that's very important for LGD because once they free the bot lane, PYL, the main shot caller, the main roamer of the team, gets to influence the entirety of the map, and it's pretty much that way that they won the early mid game.
Exactly. It was really the spillover coming out of that bottom lane, facilitated by Amy in the jungle with the Olaf pick. And then you look towards WE, and you were definitely ranting to me about the Xayah pickup here. I mean, we saw it last game as well, but in this one, it definitely was an issue after we saw the Olaf come into that bottom lane.
Yeah, so I never really liked the Xayah. I know she's strong in lanes, but when you look at holistic compositions, there's very few good compositions she fits into. Personally, I think she only fits into the 4-1 comp, where you can have teams running into you and you're trying to defend 4v5. That's basically the only comp I like Xayah in. If you're, her problems are that she doesn't really work if the enemy team outranges you, and if the enemy team isn't going to run into you, you can't get a lot of your damage off. It's locked into your E, the feather storm, and the blade collar. So I think W, the problem for them in drafting is that their side lanes are very, very stagnant in terms of their picks. If you look at 957, I think this is a great showcase of his weakness. If you look at bans and counter picks as resources, then 957 is taking up so much resources only to put himself in a bad matchup. And that's always been a problem, and why I think he's underperforming so heavily in this split. Same thing goes with Mystic. Like, you give him this Xayah recon lane and you ask yourself, what did he actually do here? And the answer is not much. Not really.
Okay, Clement. So if I gave you the reins on WE's draft and we come into Game 3, how would you draft that champion select?
I would have picked. I would take Caitlyn, just like like Rusty said on Cass. I feel like that gives the team more cohesion. You know what you want to do with it, fast push, and then you have that late game insurance for your team compositions. And also, just like the rest of the composition, I feel like you might have to move. If you're going into a losing matchup, you might move 957's picks a bit earlier, so you can leave the you can leave the counter pick for Xie.
Okay, and try and win through mid lane once again, because that was the strength we saw in game 1, really, was the fact that you could just play around Xie, right? Like, if you go for the very simple composition, and you just have Magic looking towards that mid lane, that's a way that you can try and snowball this one. Though, in this case, we still had the rise into the Azir. It looked like they still had the opportunity to try and lock him down, move towards the mid game, of course, and then that rise should be unlocked, but that's not really what we saw.
Yeah, they were really shut down very hard by Amy's good early game, and PYL able to come into the mid lane. So we've been seeing this from WE. They really like the Xie and Magic combo. It's basically you have the Rek'Sai with a hard CC, and they try to execute it a couple times mid, but it was always foiled by LGD. So without an early game strong point, LGD kind of just ran them over. There were no winning lanes on the map this time.
And as much as we criticized Amy for his game 1 performance, he actually played much better in that second game, snowballed the bottom lane into the mid lane, and everything just kind of fell over and it just kind of cascaded out of control. In fact, Amy will be picking up our MVP in this second game as well on his Olaf.
Great turnaround from this man. It does seem like sometimes the execution and communication is lacking with his teammates, but Amy typically has the right ideas. And in this game, you could see it. They set up the bot lane dive perfectly. First gank on the first rotation, and then come back again when Olaf hits 6, and Mystic without a flash dies instantly.
You're absolutely right. It's the idea is there. We even saw that in that first game when he was moving towards the mid lane. It was like, well, he was there every single time. You know, every single time that we saw the gank come out from Magic, he was there for the counter gank. It was really just on the ultimate, really, just the ultimate missing. But in this time, we saw what happens if the execution works out, and of course, LGD know what to do after the fact. It's not just like we know how to do step 1 and then we're actually kind of lost. No, they actually know where to go after they get those initial kills.
And this is the big problem for Magic, I think, right now. Going into the third game, he has to prove that he can have something to go against the Olaf and not just let the enemy jungle run over the entire team. Because if you look at this draft, they did try to ban Magic out. They took away the Kha'Zix, they took away the Jarvan. That leaves a very small champion pool from Magic, and if they know they can win against Rek'Sai with the Olaf, then LGD, I feel like they can replicate their good early and mid game once more.
So you feel like WE should look for the priority in the jungle pick for Magic and try and win through that angle so you can set him up and move towards mid?
I want to see what else he has, and if he can just stand toe-to-toe in like fighting and dueling the enemy pick. If he just gets banned out, then it's bad news for WE.
Yeah, really big question marks around what Magic has in terms of his jungle pool and whether they can play around that in the drafts here, Clem. We are going to take a quick break, however, before we start looking at Game 3.